What's up? How you doing? Here we are again. We're here, and today I got something from my Uncle Bartholomew in the mail. Sent me this little item, little blade. I don't know if you can see that. Very sharp. And he said it to me, and he said, "Wear this around your neck if ever you're in a car accident and the seatbelt jams on you. You take this out and set yourself free." I know it's very rare that seatbelts jam, but imagine being in a car accident and the belt jams on you and the car's on fire. You need a way to get out. But speaking of accidents, I was thinking of the $6 million man earlier today, and I was thinking about his eye, his left eye. They put a bionic eye in there because he lost it in that crash. But when you look at the graphics, first of all, the guy that's holding the eye, the doctor, the close-up of his hand, you see that he has dirty fingernails. I don't know what kind of doctor that is. He looks like he's a mechanic in the daytime or something, and then after that he goes and he does surgery. But his fingernail has dirt underneath it, and he's handling it without gloves. That's one thing, and that's bad enough. Imagine getting an infection with that. But the other thing is that when they show you the graphics of the bionic eye and what it looks like inside his head, he's got this contraption, this big thing inside his head. I don't know what they did with, with actually this side, the left side of his brain, but it's like a thing that long, goes from here all the way to the back. And when I was a kid and I would watch that, it would remind me of my father's bike. My father had this English bike, and it had all these gadgets on it. It had a horn, it had lights, had back lights, and the back lights and the front lights had a little, it was like a mechanism with a little spinning thing on top, and that would touch on your tire as you were riding, and it would generate power for the lights to work, so you didn't need batteries. And that's what that thing looks like in Steve Austin's head, and where'd they open him up from to put that whole machine in there? I would have thought they would have made it simpler. Just show the eye and let everybody else imagine how you did it. You don't have to show this ancient looking thing in the guy's head, because that's not the way it would have worked in real life. So anyway, that, and get the doctor to wash his hands. I mean, when you watch General Hospital, the Alan Quartermain guy, he would take the brush and scrub those nails down with antibacterial soap and then rinse them, and then the nurse would come with a towel, and then they would put those gloves on with the that powder inside. That's the way you do it. You don't handle the eyeball with your bare hands that are dirty. At least wash your hands. But that lens always fascinated me, that eye. It's a cool show. I was a big fan of that show. If Lee Majors is listening to this, contact me. I'd like to meet you for a few minutes. Say hello. You were a big part of my childhood. Big part. And that's an understatement. I mean, bigger than that. I remember one time my father was putting up a chain-link fence on our property, and there were pieces of chain-link pieces all over the yard. And I grabbed a couple of them, and I tucked my shirt in, and I put them up through here. And I spent the rest of the day running around playing in the neighborhood. And the pieces, they fell off, but I thought they got absorbed into my body, and I felt bionic, and I was doing the slow motion stuff. And then I said to myself, what am I doing? Those pieces fell out somewhere. But it was a good show, and for its time, the special effects were awesome. I know they jumped backwards, so they would climb on a building and then jump backwards and land on one of those inflatable mattresses, and then they would reverse it and make it look like they were jumping up, or whatever, because they always looked really ridiculous when they would go up, like it was like a stiff thing. But it was a good show. And then of course they introduced Bigfoot, and that really got my attention. Even though the show was kind of going downhill at that point, that Bigfoot thing was awesome, but it turned out to be a robot. And Stephanie Powers was on that. very attractive in those days, Stephanie Powers. She was on that show, Heart to Heart. I used to watch that. Max was on there. Was that Robert Wagner? It was a good show. But yeah, she was on that. But like I said, I enjoyed that show. But I have to say again, he abused his bionics. He abused his bionics. He would use, instead, like if you're bionic, grab a hammer and hit things with. Don't use your bionic arm to hit things with. And then the cheesiest thing was when, I think it was the pilot episode where he saves a woman's kid. There was a crash or something, and then he brings the kid up. Looks like it's up here by the Bronson Caves, that area. And she's like, oh, thank you. And then she looks, and the camera pans to her face. She's like shocked. And then they show his arm where his shirt had ripped. And you see the skin, the bionic skin, torn open, which looks like very plasticky. And there's these ridiculous-looking wires sticking out, like somebody took a radio transistor and stuck it in that thing. And she looks at him and says, what are you? And he doesn't know what to say, but he's all confused himself. But the effects back then, ridiculous. Not that sharp. Apparently, to make someone bionic, you need like 3 wires in here. 3 wires. The most primitive radio was more advanced than his bionic arm was. And I was always thinking, what's the power source? I mean, what's in there that gives them the power? Atomic batteries, nuclear batteries. Man, this guy must have been sending off radiation everywhere. But, you know, as a kid, you don't think that way. It's interesting to watch. But today, yeah, you can't watch it as an adult. It's comical. So, that's it. That's it.